I do feel that as an entrepreneur, what you are trying to do is something which hasn't been created. So it's all about the freshness and how frequently can you unlearn and learn new things and then build on totally diverse areas and stuff. I think the common thread would be the newness and the ability to learn new things on an ongoing basis.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started.
20-Minute Leaders is a proud supporter of Make-A-Wish Israel and Tech to Peace, and is in proud collaboration with Secret Chord Ventures, J Ventures, Riverside FM, Fusion VC, Birthright Excel, J Impact, Leap, Google for Startups, and Hippo, and in media partnership with CTech. Hello and welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Now we're going to go to agriculture with Amit Sinha, the co-founder of Unnati, a new age fintech-powered Agritech platform. In his present capacity, Amit is responsible for overseeing all operations in Unnati. He comes with a rich academic background, having completed his bachelor's degree in mining engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology, IIT, and he went on to pursue his MBA in PGDM and marketing from the Indian Institute of Management. Throughout the course of his prolific career, Amit has achieved several milestones and has been associated with renowned organizations in senior roles. He has previously worked with brands such as Infosys, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Bharti Airtel, and One97 Communications. He joined Paytm, where he served as the Chief Financial Officer, Head of HR, COO, and Business Head for Insurance for over 4 years, before co-founding Unnati with Ashok Prasad. Amit aims to leverage his rich expertise and industry experience to scale Unnati's operations and create farmer entrepreneurs across the country.
Amit Sinha, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. How are you? Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Michael. I'm really excited to have a discussion with you on the journey and what we have been doing.
Amit, your journey is so interesting, and I think this is going to be such a refreshing episode. You've had such an interesting journey from pursuing your bachelor's degree in mining engineering from IIT, and then an MBA, and then continuing to a variety of senior roles, whether it be in places like PricewaterhouseCoopers, different organizations, Paytm, where you were CFO, head of HR, CO, and business head for insurance for 4 years, co-founding Unnati, and now looking at farmer entrepreneurs. So many different things to uncover over these 20 minutes. And I have to ask you, Amit, if you look at your career a little bit now, connecting the dots, what's been sort of the common thread for you as you're looking at all these different endeavors that you've been a part of?
So I think the most common thread is the learning that I've been doing. So there has always been something new to sort of work on, to learn and then sort of deliver something which has not yet been done. So I do feel that as an entrepreneur, what you are trying to do is something which hasn't been created. So it's all about the freshness and how frequently can you unlearn and learn new things and then build on totally diverse areas and stuff. I think the common thread would be the newness and the ability to learn new things on an ongoing basis.
And where's that coming from? It's not a trivial concept. You've had you've worked at amazing places. Where did that entrepreneurial bug come from for you?
So I think it goes back to where I grew up. So in fact, I grew up in a very small township, which was quite remote in a district in Jharkhand, in India, in eastern India. It was a mining town where there were very few people, and in a way, I would say life was tough. And but the interesting fact was that it was not a lack of money, but a lack of access to a lot of things. And that is where I think the whole sort of philosophy of trying to find a way and getting things done, and not stopping at whatever obstacles are thrown at you is something that came, and that has sort of kept on through the whole career, whole personal life. And my first entrepreneur stint was with Paytm's parent company way back in 2007. So that was the time I started seeing very closely. That time in India, the startup thing hadn't yet caught on so aggressively. But
Yeah.
but I think it was the early days, but lots of fun and lots of learning there, and that is where then I started full time into entrepreneurship way back in 2010 with the first startup that me and my partner Ashok did.
Wow. Okay. So fintech, farmer entrepreneurs, tell me all about it. What's happening there?
Sure. So agriculture in India is very different from anywhere else in the world. Okay, it's a very small holder market. Okay, the land holding size is much smaller than you would see anywhere else in the world. So the Indian market is very unique, and perhaps this is the last frontiers which hasn't yet been conquered by digitization. Okay, so that drew us to this segment because this is one area where there is I always feel there is a disproportionate value that tech would bring in. Okay, because complex value chains, a large mass of people relying on this for their livelihood. So if whatever impact will happen in a very grand scale, touching millions and millions of lives. Okay, it can change the face of Indian agriculture, the thing that we're doing. Okay, so that is the excitement with which we start every day. And fintech, as you can understand, it's a livelihood thing. Agriculture is at the end of the day everything about livelihood of a mass scale of farmers. So that is where the idea was: how do we sort of on one side digitize, and then we realized that driving the digitization has to be very closely linked to the financial services that will be offering to the farmers, because that is one of the key drivers of this industry. And that's where a combination of the agri value chain along with the financial services value chain, the digitized fintech value chain, is what we are trying to marry and bring together and deliver services to the farmers.
So it sounds like you've identified sort of the market here that is being severely underserved, wide gap, big opportunity. Do you have experience with farming that led you to this realization as an entrepreneur? I mean, and then there's a bunch of different opportunities for entrepreneurs. How did you get your head and your heart on farmer entrepreneurs? I'm really curious about that.
Sure. So, as I said, my first venture was in 2010. And this was the time when we actually started offering B2B digital services focused on farmer engagement, channel engagement to a whole host of farmer-focused organizations. So it was a B2B services from the first thing that we started. And we actually stumbled on it quite, I would say, accidentally, because we were tech folks, both me and my partner, who had a strong thesis that, rural India is the place where the 3G services, this I'm saying in 2010 when 3G was just getting launched. And my partner Ashok was one of the leading 3G consultants of the country at that point of time. So we had this thesis that 3G is going to make the data superhighway that gets created through these advanced telecom services would make a disproportionate impact in rural India. While obviously urban is there, but rural is something where the, so to say, the puck is moving. The 3 years, 4 years down the line, that is where the real opportunity. And when we started building up something there, we realized that agri is the core value chain for rural India, for driving rural India, because majority of the folks are involved in farming in some or the other way. And that is the core industry that drives the rural economy. So that is how we landed up actually in agri. Okay. At least I did not have any agri background. My partner did have his family farms and stuff where he had seen a lot of challenges. And but I had seen a lot of challenges in rural India, the challenge of access to various things. And that is something that, in fact, that the digital platforms would be able to solve on. And once we started working on it, it was very interesting. We have we started going out to rural India, started realizing how things are changing, how things are shaping up, what are the farmers' problems. And over the first 4 to 5 years, that gave us a lot of insights, into what is the thing that will really make it work for the farmer. And we had been running these services for more than 2.5 million farmers at one point of time.
Wow.
And like humongous amount of data being generated. And we were very curious as to what does the data say really. Okay, while there are a lot of perceptual things that myths that were broken when we started seeing the data of what exactly the farmer wants, whom does he trust. That is very important. This is a rural economy is driven by local communities. So what drives those trusts? Who are the key fulcrum of those trust networks that get created? And those trust networks are what gave us the learning at that point of time, which is what has formed the core of what we are building today in Unnati. Okay. So that is how we ended up with Unnati over the last 7 to 8 years. And in between, I had my stint with Paytm. I went back to Paytm, was at the forefront of the financial inclusion and digitization of the whole country, so to say, and was very closely involved there. Saw a lot of things, got a lot of learning of how our mass scale financial services were adopted by the last denominator of the social strata. People who had never ever, had seen a mobile phone are today in a couple of years have started making all their payments through a mobile phone. That penetration, the way it was done was what gave us the confidence that a similar services which are built on that stack, okay, of financial services would be very massively adopted by the farmers and will start a different kind of a revolution in the agriculture industry.
What have you identified as really the low-hanging fruits for the farmers in rural India? What have you found to be most useful as you're going through this digitizing process?
See, the very basics, okay. Farming is a livelihood, as I said, livelihood activity. So you would look at anything that gives you an extra margin, either on saving some cost or getting you extra revenue. Okay. And that is where we are focusing on. What we do is, our leading services is to go ahead and offer, at the very basic, fertilizers, pesticides and seeds, high quality stuff, which a farmer normally ends up going miles to take. Okay. Ensuring that those offerings are delivered through a very strong trust network that already exists in rural India. Okay. So our focus has been on digitizing that trust network that exists between the farm input retailers and the farmers and the first level of purchasers. Go ahead and help farmers sell their farm output to various food processors and all. So what we do is, through our basic services, we go ahead and, using the knowledge that we have embedded in the platform, our technology goes ahead and keeps giving these recommendations of what to be done on the platform at what point of time. And based on that, we would connect the farmers to his preferred retailer or trader in his area where he can get the best deal, both in terms of sourcing his farm inputs and in places where he can go ahead and sell his farm out. And during this process, we ensure that he is able to utilize very simple credit products and use them to go ahead and fund his working capital like that. So this at a very, very base is what we are doing, trying to embed the commerce into the knowledge and the trust network that exists for agriculture.
And what surprised you about doing exactly that, embedding commerce to these trust networks and this digitization process? You've mentioned you've already done this for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of farmers. And I saw that your mission statement is to create 5 million farm entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So what have you discovered that perhaps surprised you, maybe about consumer behavior or about the different way that farmers are experiencing the digitization process? What has that been like for you?
So one of the biggest surprises for us has been the ease of adoption of the farmers and the whole value chain, the agri value chain to digital
That's a good
services.
surprise.
That's a very, very pleasant surprise. A couple of years back, we went deep into rural India, okay, with one of our potential investors. And this is a very funny story. In general, rural India is a conservative society, okay? You won't find many people dating and, interacting. And everybody had this mindset at least 2 to 3 years back when we started that, people still are far ahead away from using digitization. They're still experimenting. And the funny part was when we went deep inside the hinterland, what we realized that the generation of farmers who are now coming in has totally changed. They are no more the people who are not comfortable with that. All of them were on digital platforms. They were doing commerce. They were doing payments, everything digitally. The only thing that they did not do was farming digitally, and when we talked to them, what we realized was their simple thing was, we don't trust a nameless, faceless organization for our livelihood thing. If we can have an access through a trusted network, we'll be very happy to use that. And these rural folks who are there, typically these are young guys, 30 to 40 years age, who now are much more, educated and aware as compared to their parents or the previous generation of farmers were. They have everything on their phones. They have the best quality phones available, and they have full data connectivity. So the adoption and the speed at which they are adopting, and not only adopting, they have been the guiding lights for our product development. One standard thing in the company is that anybody who joins, especially in the product and tech teams, goes off for a month, visit to various rural markets to just stay there and understand from the people what they want in the app. So a lot of our features have actually been built based on what they have asked for and not what we have been pushing. So it was a very pleasant surprise. It has made our life much more, I would say, exciting, and in a way easier also, that we are getting this upfront feedback from the farmers that this is what we want. This is what we want in our solution.
And so if you're looking now 3 to 5 years down the line, with your passion, your excitement, the impact that you're making, the optimism, what is the vision that you see for Unnati if you're looking 3 to 5 years down the line?
What we believe that in 3 to 5 years time period, we would be able to give these 5 million farmers a way of informed decision. What we firmly believe is that the farmer themselves are the best judge of what is needed for them. It is a very, very, localized activity that they are doing based on their local soil conditions, their local weather conditions, their local, irrigation facilities. So it is, at the end of the day, our job is to go ahead and give these 5 million farmers all the digital tools and information to make the best decision in the context of what they are doing. So, for example, I'll share a very interesting scenario that we were discussing with one of the farmers, and he said that if we can do this, then I will be very happy. So, for example, we were telling him that if you have to go ahead and export your fresh produce, you need to not use certain pesticides and stuff. And his point was, sir, I don't know these. Okay. Can somebody tell me right at the time of my buying of a particular, let's say, chemical or a particular seed, that if you use this, then this is the impact that will be there on my potential earning, because I will not be able to then export because there's a pesticide residue that comes out of this chemical that is used. Now, this insight was very powerful. Like, this is around which our platform is evolving and building up, that we should be able to give farmer the right choices at the time of his need, that if you do this, then this is the impact that will happen on your future earnings, and then leave it for him to decide whether he wants to do it or not, okay, rather than being a prescriptive. So in 3 to 5 years, we expect 5 million farmers to use our platform and significantly build on the knowledge that comes from this collective platform for what should be done in their particular field and how it should be done, so that they can do as advanced, knowledgeable farming as let's say 1,000-hectare farmer does versus what a 1-hectare farmer is doing. So the purpose of our platform is to fully democratize the access to the services that till now has been accessible only to the really large farmers, but also to the small and the medium farmers.
That's very, very cool. And it sounds like such a healthy entrepreneurial process, from identifying an interesting gap in the market to identifying, a lot of opportunity to make a significant difference in people's lives, finding optimistically huge willingness for adoption and learning about consumer behavior that's driving this growth in a very healthy way, and then continuing with that vision to continue building it and scaling it. And so, Amit, I really want to thank you for coming here for these 20 short but insightful minutes, leaving me with a lot more questions to ask, but nonetheless, a very interesting journey. And I really want to thank you for the time and the energy and the impact that you're making. And best of luck with Unnati and with all the other endeavors you'll be a part of. And stay safe and stay healthy.
Thanks, Michael. It was a pleasure talking to you and answering your question. Thanks so much for having me here.
Thank you very, very much.
Thanks.